Hey everyone, thanks for walking by. The story of Pokemon has always consisted of one key constant. Characters come and go, Pokemon are added, new rivals, villains, and storylines are conceived. And in the center of it all is the sole character that everything must interact with in order to find its place in the Pokemon universe. That character is Ash. From the first episode to the last, Ash is the backbone of the Pokemon story, and the main catalyst for just about every storyline told. He's the one person who could undoubtedly change every aspect of the Pokemon story, and could take any given plotline or character in any number of paths. This is my mission. So, how do I do this? Tell the story as if Ash never existed.
Pika pika!
Finally emerging from its Pokeball for the first time since being captured, Pikachu opens his eyes and takes in the new world of a captured Pokemon. Because of Pikachu's innate distrust for humans, it doesn't take to being captured very well, and is immediately defiant of Professor Oak's orders. It's consistently disobedient, and its refusal to get in the Pokeball makes it nearly impossible to train. This drives Professor Oak to make the ultimate decision to release Pikachu back into the Viridian Forest. This is what Pikachu wanted all along. To be free to do as it wishes as a wild Pokemon in its natural environment. Pikachu has never made a true bond with humans, and its only experience with them has been evading capture. As a result, Pikachu does his best to avoid every human it sees. It decides to stick to Viridian Forest, a place that's familiar to it. As it runs through the forest, it feels free and excited to get back to its life. A little deeper in the forest, it runs into a Caterpie. Pikachu thinks for a moment, then decides to go say hi, because why not? It goes to introduce itself, and turns out the Caterpie's pretty funny. The two spend the day together and stay up to the late hours of the night talking and telling jokes. Pikachu has found a friend, and they both decide to stick together. The next morning, they wake up to the sound of twigs snapping. A dark shadow approaches from the trees. There's a slight pause, then a samurai bug catcher bursts out. The bug catcher feels terrible after losing 3 times in a row to trainers from Pallet Town, and decides to take some time to train up and catch some new Pokemon. The samurai surprises Pikachu and sends out his pincer, then immediately initiates an attack. The attack is swift and brutal, giving Pikachu no time to counter. Pincer ends it quickly, causing Pikachu to fall to the ground. When it looks up, it sees a Pokeball flying towards Caterpie. It watches as the ball hits it. There's a bright flash of red, then Caterpie gets sucked in. The ball wiggles, then goes still. The samurai then goes on its way, looking for more Pokemon to train up on. After waking up, Pikachu knows it can't live by itself forever, so it needs to go out in search of some friends. Pikachu begins its journey passing through Pewter City. Unable to go to the Pokemon Center, Pikachu takes its time passing through the city, stealing any food that it can to try to heal up. The food doesn't help much, and Pikachu figures there's nothing left for it there, so it continues forward into the mountains. A little ways down the mountain, Pikachu notices a bright light coming from a cave, followed by noises of humans talking. Immediately, Pikachu reacts, and moves far away from the cave, then continues to climb the mountain. Shortly after, Pikachu hears something in a small hole on the side of the mountain. Pikachu looks carefully, then suddenly, a Clefairy pops out. Pikachu is hesitant for a moment, but the Clefairy looks harmless, so it goes in to say hello. The two begin to talk, but Clefairy notices that Pikachu is still injured. Clefairy signals Pikachu to follow it. It leads Pikachu a little further up the mountain into a small cave. Inside, Pikachu notices a huge stone sitting in the middle of it. The Clefairy jumps over and calls out to its friends. Almost instantly, dozens of Clefairy come forward to greet Pikachu, then proceed to jump and dance around the great stone. Clefairy gets their attention and the group gathers around. It explains that Pikachu is injured and it wants to help. Altogether, the Clefairy raise their hands and begin to use their metronome. There's a slight pause, followed by a bright light. When the light dies down, Pikachu notices his injuries are healed and it feels great. For a moment, Pikachu feels this might be the place it's meant to be. A place where it finally feels at home. When the Clefairy see Pikachu's delight, They go back to jumping and dancing around the huge stone. Then suddenly, some begin to glow and evolve. Pikachu is surprised by what it sees and is grateful what the Clefairy have done for it, but it knows this isn't where it belongs. These Clefairy are kind of weird and honestly, give Pikachu the creeps. It says goodbye to the Clefairy and starts to make its way down the mountain, continuing its search for some new friends. Pikachu continues down the mountain and decides to stop for a break. Just as it sits down for a nap, it sees something coming for it. A Pokemon trainer carrying a whip. He throws a Pokeball and a Sandshrew comes out. Sandshrew reacts to the crack of the whip, jumping forward. It hits Pikachu with a rolling tackle, knocking Pikachu to the ground. The trainer then throws a Pokeball at Pikachu. It hits. The ball wiggles for a moment, then Pikachu bursts out of the Pokeball. The second it escapes, it makes her run for a nearby river and without hesitation, jumps in. The rapids are strong, but Pikachu toughs it out because it knows what's after it. Pikachu stays in the river and lets the current take it past Celadon City, where the river begins to calm down. The bright lights of the city are definitely not for Pikachu, so it leaves the river, exhausted but safe, then makes its way south. The further from Celadon City Pikachu gets, the more dim the lights become. This leads to Gringy City. Almost immediately after entering the city, Pikachu starts to feel exhausted. So much so that it decides to stop for a break on the side of a path. Pikachu starts to feel faint and closes its eyes. It wakes up a few hours later in the Pokemon Center, surrounded by Nurse Joy and a Chansey. Pikachu knows it should fear humans, but it's far too exhausted to get away. So, its only option is to give in and rest. Pikachu spends the night at the Pokemon Center. While there, it takes the time to think about what's really happening to it. Why are these humans being so nice? What did they have planned for it? The thoughts were too much. So, in the middle of the night, Pikachu got up and escaped the Pokemon Center. As Pikachu ran away into the night, it couldn't help but wonder why Nurse Joy was being so nice. Could Pikachu have been wrong about humans? Maybe some weren't all bad. That thought quickly left Pikachu's mind in the morning, as its sole focus was on continuing its journey. Pikachu's journey took it far and wide, to another forest, far away from Viridian Forest, where it originally started. There, it sees a young Pikachu in the bushes, curious about the world and exploring its surroundings. Pikachu is hesitant, but decides to go make a move and try to interact with the small Pikachu. The small Pikachu immediately reacts, running back into the bushes. Pikachu decides to follow and is led to a large group of Pikachu. Seeing this, Pikachu could hardly contain itself. It sees Pikachu running around, playing, and most importantly, snacking. This is everything Pikachu's been looking for, so it goes in to say hi. The group is instantly alerted to the presence of the stranger, keeping their distance. The group's recoil really speaks to it. After traveling all this way and finally finding Pokemon of its own kind, the thought of getting rejected hits Pikachu hard. Just as it's about to accept the group's apparent decision, the small Pikachu from earlier breaks away from the group and runs up to Pikachu. It starts off cautiously, but after a good sniff, the small Pikachu decides to trust Pikachu and extend its tail as a sign of friendship. Pikachu, shocked after this emotional roller coaster, extends its tail in return. Seeing the new bond that's been formed, the group runs over to greet their new member and officially accept Pikachu into the group. After everything Pikachu's been through, after all the travel and moving forward into the unknown, Pikachu has finally found a place that it can call home. Pikachu integrated into the group perfectly, and by nightfall it was like Pikachu had been there all along. It formed a special connection with the young Pikachu, and soon their bond became more and more of a parent-child relationship. Pikachu is also looked up to for its knowledge of humans. It preached that although some humans might be out to hurt them, there are just as many out there looking to help. Pikachu had finally found its home, a place where it can live, a place where it can be itself, and a place it can be happy. Thanks for walking by.
Pika, Pika.